Hey friends, it is Jenna, what is up, and welcome back to the Board Game Garden, and welcome to a preview of this game right here. This is Mycelia. It is designed and illustrated by JJ Neville, and it is published by Splitstone Games, who is sponsoring today's video, so a huge thank you to them. I am very excited to share with you guys Mycelia. If you don't know what Mycelia means, basically it is a hidden root system and a connection between fungi. So mushrooms kind of have this connection that goes throughout the forest, I guess, and kind of builds this mycelial network. We are going to be showing you, or I'm going to be showing you, there's only me here, I am going to be showing you how Mycelia plays. I'm going to be showing you all of the different components. Mycelia is a 1 to 4 player game. It plays in about 40 to 60 minutes and it plays ages 10 and up. So we're going to get right into this. First up, we're going to get into the aim of the game as well as all the components, and then we'll get into how it plays after that. It will be launching on Kickstarter on September 7th, so definitely go and check that out if you guys are interested. This video will be going up around that time, so it might be live when you are watching this, so definitely go click that link down below if you are interested and check out the campaign. So without further ado, if you guys want to see how Mycelia plays, all the components, and all of those things, then just keep on watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Comment down below if Mycelia is something that you are interested in, or if it's not. I'd love to chat down there about it. But yes, let's get into this video, shall we? All right, to get started, I do want to kind of share with you guys the aim of the game, what basically you are going to be doing throughout the game. Like I mentioned in the intro, Mycelia is the hidden root system or connection or network of all of the mushrooms throughout the forest. And I think that is so cool. I didn't know that until I actually got this game and kind of read up on Mycelia and all those things. But basically in the game, you're going to be working on your mycelial network. You're going to be growing mushrooms. You're going to be sporing those mushrooms, gaining different cubes in order for you to grow even more mushrooms. The mushroom cards are going to be your main way of getting victory points. And then whoever has the most victory points at the end of the game is the winner. You're going to be taking your mushrooms along their entire life cycle. So you're going to be growing the mushrooms, you're going to be sporing the mushrooms, you're going to be building out your mycelial network, and then at the end of their life, they are going to decay, and then whatever decayed mushrooms you have actually are going to give you some sort of special action. So even though you have, they have died, they are giving you some sort of a special action, which I think is great. So without further ado, let's start over here. I do have the rule book here. I love the design of this game. It, for some reason, to me, is very modern. I don't know. I haven't really seen a lot of modern style games, but this one to me just looks very modern and I love the style of it. So this is the rule book, very modern. I love the coloring. You also have I currently have a 3-player game set up right here. You guys can only see 2 of the boards or 2 of the player areas, but there is a 3rd player area in front of you there that I believe is off screen. You also have a little bit of a market over here, and then you have the main board. So at the beginning of the game, this main board is going to be a little bit smaller. You take 6 off of each of the piles. You're gonna have 2 piles of triangular tiles, which I think it's really cool that you have triangular tiles. I haven't really seen a lot of games with triangles, so you're going to be taking 6 off of the top of the 2 piles and then building out the starting star formation for the beginning of the board. And then as you play the game, you can build out the board in any way you want. So the board is always going to be different. It's going to build out in different ways, creating replayability of the board and how it turns out in the end. So that is the main board. All of the different triangles, there are 4 different types of triangles. I believe it's the different, not terrain, but nutrition, I guess, or something like that. But there are 4 different types. There is brown, green, yellow, and red. And then there is also a black, which counts as a wild. So all of the cubes that are on each of these triangles are the spores, and wherever they are, that is the color that they represent for when buying your card. So we'll get into that a little bit further in the how to play. But that is the main board there. It's going to build out different every time. You have your player boards here. Each player is going to get 5 different like mushroom boards. They each have a different pip number going from 1 to 5. And then they're all going to start with a mushroom of that matching pip number on top, and these are going to represent your 5 mushrooms that you are potentially going to be growing and going throughout their life cycle and decaying and all of those things, sporing, all of that. You have a little tracker here for how many times you have spored that specific mushroom, and your mushrooms are actually going to be going onto the board, so you can kind of have the connection of the mushroom with the pip number. So this mushroom here is on the pip number 1 board, and that means that this mushroom is the pip number 1 on the main board. So those are the 5 there. You're going to be placing out your mushroom cards on your board. You also do have your spore cubes over here. Every player gets a bunch of spore cubes in their specific color. Each player also does get a handy dandy player reference. One side has all 6 of the actions that you can perform on your turn, and then the other side has the sporing direction. It also has how you can use your insect tiles, which some of the triangular tiles that go out onto the board do have an insect icon, and whenever you see an insect icon, you take an insect tile and you're going to place it onto that triangle, and then if you ever land on that triangle, you get to collect that insect tile, and then those insect tiles are going to get you different abilities, and you can also get victory points at the end of the game. For every 2 insect tiles that you have at the end of the game will be worth 1 victory point if you do not use them. And then you also have what makes your network and what makes like the domain, or who is dominant on specific triangles. So yes, that is the little player reference there. I will also mention now that there is a solo mode. I have not had a chance to play it, but I really do want to play it, so we're going to do that soon. It comes with a deck of cards, and I'm assuming you're going to be flipping over a card and then doing whatever is on that card. You also have what the Atoma is going to be doing, a little Atoma aid as well, and then I believe this is the Atoma like card where you're going to be putting their mushrooms and sporing their mushrooms and all of those things. So there is a solo mode, which is amazing. We love when games have solo modes here on the Board Game Garden. Okay, the last thing I do want to point out, there's also this little triangle or diamond. This is definitely a diamond. Here it says Ex Morte Vita, which I don't know what that means, but basically whoever ends the game, whoever has 5 decayed mushrooms first, whoever does that, they end the game automatically, and they do get this, which is worth 5 victory points at the end of the game. So it's a little bit of a race to get there because you do want those 5 extra points. And then I think the last thing that I have to point out, we have the win die, which you will be using quite a bit in this game. And a really funny thing is they say in order to kind of keep the game going, when you are finished your turn, you are supposed to take the win die, place it in front of the next player, and look at them intently to tell them to go. Which, when we played this, we actually did that, and it works. I feel like a lot of the times when I'm playing board games, like, sometimes people just don't realize that you're done, so then you kind of sit there for a little bit, and the person's like, oh, are you done? Is it my turn? And you're like, yes, I've been done for a minute now. So this is a really great way to, like, keep the game going, so I thought that was very funny. But the actual last thing is we do have the market here. So you have your big, huge deck of a bunch of different mushrooms. Again, like I said, all of these different mushroom cards, they are all different, and they are all illustrated by the designer, J.J. Neville, and wow. Just wow. The cards are made up of basically the type of mushroom it is at the top. You have in the top right-hand corner the victory points that you will get if you either fruit the mushroom, which means you have gotten the spores to plate in front of you, or if you decayed the mushroom as well, you would get those 3 victory points. You have down here, you have the spores that you need to fruit the mushroom. You have, if you spore this mushroom, how many spores are going to be placed onto the board. And then you also have at the bottom the different ability for that mushroom. So there's 3 different types of abilities. There is a like automatic action ability. There is an ongoing ability that is represented by an infinity sign. So that's just an automatic thing that you have for the rest of the game. And this one is specifically for wherever you decay that mushroom, the mushroom that is on that board, that spot has this ability. So this one right here is spore both your mother and your mother mushroom, which is the big circle mushroom here, which I will get into when I explain how to play. But spore both your mother mushroom and this mushroom as one action. That is really good, actually. So that's everything for the cards and kind of what the cards look like. So yes, I believe that is everything for an overview of a little bit of how the game plays. You're going to be starting with the first player. The first player is determined by whoever saw a mushroom in the wild most recently. You're going to start with that player. Each player will have 2 actions on their turn. They'll be picking 2 of the 6 actions that you can choose from. You'll continue this around and around clockwise until one player has decayed at least 1 mushroom on each of their 5 boards. The game will end, you will count up your victory points, and then whoever has the most victory points is the winner. Like I mentioned, whoever does trigger the end does get this Ex Morte Vita chip for 5 extra victory points. But yes, that is everything for the aim of the game, as well as all of the components. But let's get into exactly how the game plays. All right, so like I said, on a player's turn, you're going to start with the player that most recently saw a mushroom in the wild. That player is going to start, and on your turn, you have 2 actions. And the different actions are going to be on your player reference here. So you have move, spore, fruit, discover, explore, decay. First action that you can perform is move. So when you move, you are only able to move your mother mushroom. So your mother mushroom is this circular component here. This is a very, very important component when it comes to this game. This is the heart of your network, your mother. So she is going to be on a tile, and with this turn, you are able to move up to 2 times. So you don't have to move twice, you can move once, but you can move up to 2 times, and you have to move through flat edges. So you cannot move through corners, you have to move through flat edges. Also, you cannot move through another player's mother mushroom. So for example, this player here is yellow, that is who I am playing, and I could not move 1, 2 into this space because there's already a mother mushroom here, and even if I was here, I could not move beyond that mother mushroom. So this red mother mushroom here is actually kind of protecting this space and kind of cutting off this space from all the other players. So having your mother mushroom in a specific spot might actually be a great strategy when it comes to building out your network and kind of holding or keeping your network kind of private from the other players by kind of building out this network protected by your mother mushroom. So with movement, like I said, you can move your mother mushroom up to 2 times, and that would be one of your actions. Moving into the second action is sporing. So sporing is very important when it comes to getting cubes out onto the board, and the cubes are going to help you fruit new mushrooms. So basically each of the mushroom cards is going to have a black circle in the bottom right hand corner. This is going to tell you how many spores are going to be produced by that mushroom. Your mother mushrooms are always 2 spores, they're just a basic 2, and you can spore your mother mushroom as many times as you want. So you could decide to spore your mother mushroom for that action. She would put out 2 cubes, which if I, in this instance here, wanted to spore my mother mushroom, the first spore always goes onto the triangle that the mushroom is sitting on, and then you get to roll the wind die. So the wind is very unpredictable, and you are gonna roll the die, and then that is going to tell you the direction of the wind and where your other spores are going to be placed. So you're going to look at the triangle that your mushroom is on, and whatever icon, there are 3 different kind of abstract icons. They say this is an A, an O, and a U. I rolled an A, so it's going to go in the direction of the A on this triangle, and it's going to be placed in that triangle. If there was 3 spores, I could then choose which direction I wanted the other one to go, but the first direction that you have to go is the one that is rolled by the wind die. And wherever these spores are, that is the color that they represent, and you are going to be using your spores collecting your spores in order to fruit other mushrooms. So all of these yellow spores here are actually the red. We have one on green here, so I have a green spore. I have a few over here on brown and on the wild tile, so these spores can be used as any color. The color of the spore represents that it is your spore, but the tile that it is on represents what color the spore is for fruiting mushrooms. So also I do want to mention that you also always have to keep in mind your mycelial network. So you're wanting to keep all of these things connected. If you have any mushrooms or spores that are not connected to your network, you can have a bunch of different networks, but whenever you are fruiting a mushroom, the spores all have to be connected. So all of these here are connected, but if someone, for example, if my mushroom was here, this mushroom on this space is controlling that triangle. So this yellow one here that is on this green tile is no longer in the control of me, so I can no longer use that. So if someone is kind of able to, so for example, if I was to move this blue one, 1, 2 to here, and cover up this yellow mushroom here, this one with this blue mother mushroom now dominates this triangle, and these yellows here are no longer part of my network, and I can no longer use them unless that blue mother mushroom then moves off of that tile. So whatever the biggest item is on that triangle is the one that dominates. So if there is a mushroom, that's the color that dominates that triangle. If there is a mother mushroom, that is the one that dominates. And like I said, you can't place mother mushrooms on top of mother mushrooms, but you can place mother mushrooms on top of normal mushrooms. So that is the basics of kind of how the connections work. You always have to have all things connected in order to use your spores. But yes, that is the sporing. I will also mention that each of the mushroom cards that you have, I said that you can spore your mother mushroom as many times as you'd like, but each of the other mushrooms can only be spored twice before you have to put them into decay. So that's another action that you would have to do. Once you have spored a mushroom twice, the only thing that you can do with that mushroom now is decay it. So that is everything for the sporing action. That's probably the most complicated of them all. It all just depends on your mycelial network and really paying attention to where everything is connected and making sure that everything is connected so that you can use your spores in order to fruit mushrooms. All right, so speaking of fruiting mushrooms, this is the main way that you get victory points. You're going to be getting victory points for all of the mushrooms that you have fruited, as well as all of the mushrooms that you have decayed. You will start with 3 cards in your hand. I don't believe there is a hand limit. You can gain as many cards as you'd like. The discover action is another action that you can take to gain more cards, but you start the game with 3, and I currently have 2 in my hand. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to look at your mycelial network and you are going to see if you can afford any of your mushrooms. So each of the mushrooms do have a cost in the kind of bottom left-hand corner. This one here is a field mushroom, so it's a very basic looking mushroom and it needs a brown and 2 yellows. So I could look at my mycelial network and I can see here that I do have 1 brown on this triangle here, and then I also do have 2 yellows on this triangle. So I could take those off. I could grab this 3-pip mushroom, place this mushroom card on the 3-pip board, and then place this mushroom out onto the board. I can place it on the triangles that I took the spores off of. So I could either place it on this yellow one, which there is already a mushroom there, so I actually can't place it on that yellow one. You can never place more than 1 mushroom onto a triangle, so that one already has a mushroom on it, so I would have to place it on this triangle here because it does not have any mushrooms on it. So then that would be placed onto the board, and that would be me fruiting a mushroom. I would gain 3 victory points at the end of the game for that one, and eventually I could decay this mushroom once sporing it twice, and I would gain its special ability, which is gain 2 spores and place on multiple triangles. Ooh. So that is the fruit action. Taking the spores off, putting a mushroom on, and placing that mushroom card onto one of your boards. The next action is the discover action. Like I mentioned, you will have cards in your hand, and sometimes you just need more cards. And like I showed you guys at the beginning of the video, in the component overview, you do have a little market here. You have a pile of cards here with 3 face up. When you take the discover action, you can take one of the 3 face up mushrooms there, or you can take a little bit of a chance and grab the one off of the top of the draw pile. But I could maybe decide I want the Liberty Cap mushroom. So I would take that, add it to my hand, and then that would be one of my 2 actions for my turn. Next action is the explore action. So this is simply just taking one of the tiles, one of the triangles off of the top of one of the 2 piles, and then placing this anywhere on the board. So you could decide to place it right here. This is the really interesting part of this game, is that the board kind of progresses with the game, and people can place things in any spot that they would like. So the board is always going to be a slightly different shape, and the colors are going to be in slightly different places, bringing a lot of replayability and different circumstances to the game. So you would just take one of those tiles, place it out, and that would be one of your 2 actions. And the last action is a little bit morbid, but that is when your mushroom unfortunately dies. So once you have spored your mushroom twice, that is the end of that mushroom's life cycle, and you can decide to take an action to decay that mushroom. So once you had it on the 2 space on your board, you would take your mushroom card, you would flip it over, and you would tuck it underneath that board, and then whatever that decay action was, if it was an automatic action, you would take that action right away. If it was an ongoing kind of ability, you would just have it there. This one here, for example, is if you pick up a card from the deck, pick 2 and discard 1. So that means that on a turn where you took the explore action, instead of just taking one randomly off the top of the pile, you'd be able to take 2. You'd look at them, decide you want this one, and then discard the other one. So that is a pretty nice ability if you're looking for very specific mushrooms. If you have very specific colors of spores that you would like to use, that would make it a little bit easier there. And like I said, there is also the mushroom abilities. So that is the pinkish brown color, and if this one is tucked here, whatever mushroom is on that specific board, this ability would apply to that mushroom. So those are the 3 different types of cards, and that is the decay action. All right, so that is everything for the 6 different actions that you can perform on your turn. You can perform 2 actions, or you will perform 2 actions on your turn. They have to be 2 different actions. You can't perform 2 of the same actions. I believe there is a few cards that have an ongoing ability, a decay ongoing ability, where you can do 2 of the same action for the rest of the game. So that would be a really nice decay action to have. But for the most part, you are taking 2 different actions out of the 6. That would be your turn. Players, again, would continue that until one player triggers the end of the game. You would all count up all of your fruited mushrooms as well as your decayed mushrooms. You'd count up victory points for any bug tokens that you had or insect tokens that you had. The player that got the Ex Morte Vita tile would gain 5 extra victory points for that, and that would be the game. All right, friends, that's going to be everything for today's preview of Mycelia. Hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing all about it. If you are interested in checking out Mycelia and possibly grabbing it for yourself to add to your collection, definitely go and check out the campaign. I will have it linked down below. It should be live when you are watching this right now, so definitely go and check it out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Comment down below if Mycelia is one that you're thinking about backing. And a huge thank you again to Splitstone Games for sponsoring today's preview. I love you guys so, so much. Remember, you are somebody's reason to smile, and I will see you in the next board game video. Bye, friends.